Do you want to get an A in your CELTA or TOEFL course? In this video, I'm going to share 5 of my best tips to help you achieve this lofty goal. Hi, my name is Fergus Fadden and I am an experienced CELTA trainer, and on this YouTube channel, I will help you discover the best methods, approaches, and techniques to achieve success in your course. So about today's video, how to achieve a Pass A on your CELTA course. The first big tip that I'm going to offer you is to set yourself up for success. And the surest way to set yourself up for success on an intensive course, especially, that's the 4-week-long Monday to Friday version of the CELTA course, is to plan every part of every day. So you have your timetable, your 9 to 5, but when you get home, you need to plan everything down to when you're having your meals, when you're going for a walk, when you're going to bed, how long you're sleeping for. Around all of that, then you need to plan time to work on assignments, time to get ahead on assignments, time to work on lesson plans, time to do a little bit of reading, time to watch a little bit of YouTube like this channel, of course, time to just relax. Set yourself up with the calendar app on your phone or a Google Calendar, and just sit down and break things into segments, into hour-long chunks. I wouldn't recommend breaking it down into, the level of 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but plan all of your time. I promise you this will be invaluable resource to you as you continue through CELTA. The CELTA workload really piles up on you very quickly, and it can really feel overwhelming. So having this planned timetable really helps you to manage that. Even when it does feel like a lot, you can say, okay, it's 7:30, it's feeling like a lot, but I'm planned to stop this at 8 o'clock. No matter where I am, I'm stopping at 8 o'clock and I'm going outside and I'm taking my dog for a walk, or I'm watching my favorite TV show, or I'm having a snack, or whatever it is. You need to stick to that plan, because it'll certainly help you in those moments where CELTA just feels like it's coming in, like the walls are closing in on you. My second big tip when it comes to achieving the highest mark in the CELTA course is to pay attention to the assessment criteria when it comes to your assignments. So on CELTA, there are 4 assignments, and on each assignment, you will have, first of all, the rubric, what it's asking you to respond to in the assignment, but also on every assignment cover sheet, you will see what you are being assessed on. And that's usually 4 or 5 criteria, sometimes a little more. And you can look at each one of those and just spend a little bit of time with it, write it down, and then ask yourself, what does it mean to analyze language for the purposes of teaching, for example? And maybe brainstorm that thought. Okay, analyzing languages for the purposes of teaching. Well, I guess my timeline is probably not going to be extremely complicated, probably going to be quite simple, because what I'm using a timeline for is actually just to convey meaning visually. So I don't need to have lots of intricacies going on there where people are trying to figure out what I'm drawing. No, I need to keep it very simple. So going through a process like this will then have a trickle-on effect when you go to actually write the assignment itself, and part of that task asks you to, how would you teach this piece of language? So that's the second big piece of advice. Look at the criteria that you are being assessed on, break it down, and ask yourself, what would it mean to be successful with each one of these? And try to come up with an example. It'll really help you to guide you as you're moving through each of those assignments to make sure that you're on track. Before I get on to the next tip, I just wanted to take one quick minute of your time to tell you about my website, where you can book an appointment with me, a free 45-minute consultation, just to talk about whatever your language teaching goals are. I'm here to spend that time with you and discuss how you can better achieve them. My third big tip when it comes to getting an A on your CELTA connects quite well to the previous piece of advice. And this time it's about making your personal aims based on the action items from your feedback from a previous lesson. So just as with the assignments where we looked at the assessment criteria and we brainstormed what could be good ways to achieve those, or what would it look like if you were achieving those, when it comes to your teaching practice and your lesson plans, look at the feedback that you get from your tutor and don't just see it as a vindication of what you've done or criticism of what you've done. Look at each piece of feedback and turn it into action items. So a piece of feedback says something like, "Hi, teacher talking time." Ask yourself, okay, what can I do about my teacher talking time to improve that? Well, one thing to go from high to low is just talk less, but that seems like a kind of low resolution kind of solution. So let's think about it a little bit more. Okay, well, maybe I could elicit more. Okay, elicit sounds like a good buzzword. Us CELTA tutors, we love to talk about eliciting. Well, what does eliciting mean? Oh, well, it means asking more questions. Okay, and how can I then maybe up that one level more to make a qualitative difference with my eliciting? Well, I can have a variety of question types, or maybe I can have some fallback questions like, does this have a positive or negative connotation? Would I use this in a formal or informal situation? And then sometimes your eliciting can blend with your concept checking questions. So this is just an example of turning feedback into actionable items and make those your personal aims for your following lesson. Keep those personal aims quite limited. Give yourself no more than about 3 personal aims. If you're working on more than 3 items in a subsequent lesson, then it's probably too much spinning plates for that lesson. You're trying to do too many things at the same time. So if you give yourself just the objective, as we say in this example, let's say it's eliciting and student-centeredness and concept checking questions. That's not to say that other things like instructions and monitoring and error correction go out the window. No, not at all. But just the focus of your efforts is going to be on the 3 items that you decided to work on. And then in the subsequent lesson, say that you did get feedback on that lesson, that you set yourself some good personal aims, you got some feedback that said, oh, you need to improve your instructions. Well, then in that lesson, put that as one of your personal aims. You know, you got to remember that Rome wasn't built in a day, so you're not going to achieve all of them in one go. So set yourself about 3 personal aims and really plan to work on those. Keep them conscious. If you're teaching online, maybe put some post-it notes on your monitor with your personal aims to help remind you that you should be keeping focused on these. If you're teaching in person, I've seen some people stick some keywords on a piece of paper on the back wall behind the student, so it's just reminding you as you teach. I've seen trainee teachers sticking up CCQs, elicit, teacher talking time on the wall, and it really made a big difference. My 4th tip is that materials never impress like good teaching impresses. I've seen on some CELTA courses over the years, trainees spending a lot of time with their PowerPoints or their materials and adapting every single lesson. And while this is great, especially if you're thinking about a career in something like instructional design, something that I actually work in as well, that's great for that skill set. However, when it comes to the communicative approach, communicative language, classroom, your objective is on the student, on student-centeredness. We hear this all of the time. So what could this actually look like? What it looks like is you as a trainee teacher demonstrating to your tutor and your peers, and most importantly, the students, that you are looking out for those moments to teach the student who's right in front of you. So an example of that could be incidental language. And what incidental language is, when you have a lesson and you've planned to teach, let's say 8 vocabulary items in a certain context, but a student comes up with a piece of vocabulary that you weren't expecting, but does have relevance in that context, then grab onto that, validate that, put it up on the whiteboard, share it with the other students. If you're feeling confident and that you have the ability, then maybe ask some concept checking questions and drill the pronunciation of that incidental language. Other areas where you might show this great teaching could be with things like error correction. It's always great if you can include a delayed error correction section in your lesson for a number of reasons. First of all, you are addressing error correction. You're showing an awareness of not interrupting fluency activities, but taking notes for an error correction slot later on. And ultimately, it shows an awareness of language itself and how you can then help the learners with their own specific needs. And my fifth tip for this video is going to be this: pay attention to how your tutor teaches your input sessions. There's a concept called looped input, and looped input, sometimes I describe it as 2 for the price of 1. What do I mean in concrete terms? Sometimes us as tutors, we are modeling how you should teach your language lesson by how we set up our input sessions. So if I'm teaching an input session on how to teach grammar to students, maybe what I'll do is input session that has a demo lesson in there. So I'm literally showing exactly how to teach this or that grammar point. But it's not always with demo lessons. It could be a session on doing language analysis, and look how your tutor leads into that input session. Look at how your tutor then clarifies the main point. Look at, are you doing any practice activities with the central point of the input session? Look at how your tutor encourages you to work with different partners or different people in your group. Look at how they set up the interaction patterns. Look at how they take feedback. Look at how they use their board. Your tutor is not just a repository of CELTA related information. They are an example, and you should always be asking yourself, how can I model my next lesson on something that your tutor is doing? I know myself, when I first became a CELTA tutor, I looked to my teaching experience when I was asking myself, how can I set up this or that input session? I was very glad to find that all tutors do this. We base our input sessions on how we teach. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below, do you feel that A grade is a reasonable objective to have when it comes to doing your CELTA, or do you think it's a bit pie in the sky, it's unachievable, that really we should listen to the naysayers who say, oh, don't worry about the A, just worry about passing your course? Or do you feel it's good to have lofty goals, and even if we don't hit that A or the B and come out with a pass, well, at least we tried? What's your angle on this? I'd really love to know in the comments below. Okay, thank you so much for watching. My name is Fergus Fadden, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.